guys, Bonk and I are here today. I'm not talking about a lot totally important, though I do have a little bit of a rant. So, as I have heard, some of you guys are already down there, and I am insanely jealous of all of you. Me, I go whitewater rafting with a sinus infection to console myself. Right. Anyway, so fortunately, my voice is back, which means you could hear me talk again. And I guess, let me think. Drop my water bottle. So on the bus ride back from rafting last weekend, I got into a bit of an argument with one of the girls who, this must have hit close to home or something, because it was a weird argument to be having, because I was complaining, we saw a child with Down syndrome, and everybody was like, oh my god, they're so cute, and they're so nice, and they're so friendly, which is probably true. I've heard they're all very friendly. Parents of such people are not always so friendly. And I've had people just come up to me with, like, you know, old ladies in wheelchairs or special needs, broken legs, whatever, you know, in wheelchairs. And they'll come up and they'll be like, where are we supposed to go? And you're like, well, do you have a FastPass? No. Well, then you go on standby. They're like, well, what if we have this? And they, like, shove this wheelchair at you. And you're like, well, that's your grandma. Let's be nice to her. They don't like that. People will use their disabilities to get them FastPasses. Because in Magic Kingdom and at Disneyland, the parks were built before there were big, like, wheelchair laws. The Americans with Disabilities Act, I believe. So, the rides didn't come with wheelchair access, so if anyone came that was in a wheelchair, they were backdoored onto the ride and didn't have to wait, which is great for them, but kind of unfair, because you could also, you know, for like $30, rent a wheelchair and pretend you couldn't walk and cut all the lines. So they've had to, any new rides, this is A, isn't it A? Any new rides, most always have a wheelchair access queue line, so being in a wheelchair doesn't mean you get a FastPass. All of Soarin' is wheelchair accessible, so yay, you can wait 3 hours just like everyone else. Isn't that what you wanted, to be treated like everyone else? It sounds like I'd probably come off mean, and I'm not saying that, like, I mean, but there are stamps for if for whatever reason you can't wait 2 hours in line. We know, because there are special, like, cards and passes for that. It's not simply being in a wheelchair. And it sounds really mean, and this is the argument I got into. But if you have, you know, in a 40-minute shift at front of, you know, either standby or FastPass return, you get, I don't know, 5 or 6 people in 40 minutes who want a FastPass simply because they don't want to wait in line. You get lots of that. But several of them will be because they're in a wheelchair. They feel like they deserve to go in a FastPass line. And I have big issues with that, because just getting a wheelchair, you can rent those. Cast members get them for free, or I think right now we get them for cheaper. I think during holidays we get them for free. It shouldn't mean you get a FastPass. Like, you shouldn't get every break in the world just because you twisted your ankle, or because you are too fat to walk and so you rent a scooter. it sounds really mean, but you have to be really strict. And I think that's one of the hardest things to get used to in any aspect of the park, is you want to help people. You may be in your, quick service at the hotels, and you want to, somebody comes in and it's like 3 minutes past closing and they want, a pizza. And you want to, yeah, I bet they really are hungry. And I believe them when they say they haven't fed their kids since 11 a.m. and it's now midnight. I believe them. There are bad parents out there. But the minute you feed one person after closing, then somebody else walks in. And now it's 5 minutes after closing and you serve them. How come you won't serve person number 2? Pretty soon it's half an hour after closing and you're still serving people. You just can't do it. You have to be strict. You say when the line comes and you say, that's the last guest I'm serving. The same, you have to be strict with everything. Consistency is basically my theme here, that everybody's special, but that means everybody gets treated the same. And I really fight hard for this because you can cause so many problems. You may think you're being nice by giving out FastPasses to every person you see, but you're just causing trouble, because then they go to expect it. They learn if they throw a fit, Disney will give them free things. I see a lot of that in food, because we give them free food if they throw a fit, and it's not good. And the argument was that you shouldn't judge people based on how they behave at Disney World because it's a very stressful situation. And my argument is actually the opposite. I think the big telling of how people actually are is how they behave to strangers at Disney World. Because it's not even just, the guy at the Taco Bell stand, which people have been treating increasingly bad. It's this idea that you're on vacation, you'll probably never see this kid again. He's just some college-age scum. So if he tells you the wait's 2 hours and you don't want to wait 2 hours, you spit on him. And I think that's very telling. I don't think it's extreme stress that causes that. I think that's how people are. And I think it's a really good way to judge personality. It's the same with, I have a friend that has to ask the cast members for FastPasses on every ride he goes on. And if you've read my live journal, I'm strongly against that. It's great, I'll give one to my friend if they stop by. But I'm not about to go up to people who are busy doing their job and ask them for free things. When I can go to a Disney park any day of the year, I think there are 5 days I can't go, and I can ride the rides. And if the line's too long, I can come back on another day. And I can go when the lines are shorter, I can get a fast pass, whatever. I don't need to take spots from guests that could use those fast pass lines. I don't need to do it in front of other guests, so then they'll come up and go, well, how come you gave them a fast pass? It creates a whole hassle. And just constantly remember, especially you people that are there now, you have 6 months to ride every ride at Disney World. That's fully plausible, even working 5 days a week. So why take spots from people who are only here for 5 days, who might be leaving tomorrow? This might be their first day in the park. For whatever reason, they deserve those spots more than you, because you can come back next week. That's my little timer. So I hope that was it's a little ranty, just something I feel really strongly about. Treat everyone the same, or you're asking for trouble. By all means, call little girls princess, and little boys, tramp, sport, buddy, whatever. I think I called them buddy. Create magical moments. But the minute you start doing exceptions rather than magical moments, you're just asking for trouble. So I hope, that gave you something to think about. It's really easy to get caught up on the idea of getting fast passes without putting your ID in, which is really easy. I had a woman come up, she goes, I work at Magic Kingdom, can I have a FastPass? And I was like, oh, that's great. Did you actually know you can use your Disney ID just like a park ticket, and you put it in the machines just like the guests do, and it gives you a FastPass? And she looked kind of befuddled, because I'm sure she knew this, and she kind of wandered off. The other thing I do is go, oh, I don't have any, but if you want to ask my managers, then I'm sure they would be happy to. And the thing is, if you start doing that to managers, and they're in a bad mood, or if you're very insistent on it, they will ask to see your ID, and then they will confiscate it, and you could get reprimands, you could get terminated. It's just not a good idea in general. That was my rant. Very confusing, but I really hope, I hope it made people think. Yeah, I'll probably talk about this more some other time. Alright, bye guys.